Has your TikTok For You page been full of young professionals in major cities vlogging their days at work, except instead of cubicles and soul-sucking fluorescent lighting, their workplaces seem to resemble luxury hotel lobbies or Instagrammable museums? Well, you're not alone. I've been seeing a lot of this content too, and I want to talk about it. In the last couple of years, working in tech has started to become a prominent niche on TikTok. Under hashtag work in tech, you'll find things from day in the life
Come with me
vlogs
to the office for my first week at Google.
to how much I make content
I'm gonna hop on the salary transparency trend.
to tutorials on how to break into tech with an English degree and a dream.
Hey, so I just recently dropped out of school, grad school for psychology, to pursue a full-time career in tech.
It's an interesting crossover between aspirational lifestyle and career-oriented content because unlike a full-time vlogger or influencer whose work mostly consists of filming themselves doing what appears to be nothing, these creators can film themselves going to an office, doing more tangible work, and of course, getting some delicious free food from their employer while at it. I think this content has started to become so popular for a couple of reasons. One, many of these videos do a great job at romanticizing work and making it seem a lot more fun or interesting than jobs at normal companies. And two, so many of these tech companies are ubiquitous in our daily lives from the user perspective, yet extremely elusive on the corporate side, especially when it comes to actually getting a job. For example, Google receives 3 million applications per year and accepts just 0.2% of them. Creators have found an audience of people interested in seeing the day-to-day of working in tech and viewers who are hungry for advice, or at least anecdotes, on how to break into the industry. We call this space Tech Talk. Most creators in the tech talk space started making this content simply to share their lives and experiences and to make tech more accessible to people who otherwise wouldn't have considered that career path. As we know, it's a notoriously very white and very male-dominated field. I personally have found it to be really inspirational to see people who look like me making six figures at highly regarded companies and building that good generational wealth. And this kind of content has definitely inspired me and some of my friends to apply for roles at tech companies. Not to mention, working in tech has become increasingly desirable because in the midst of the Great Resignation, it's one of the few industries known for flexible work-life balance, competitive pay, great benefits, and office perks like a seemingly endless supply of novelty beverages. When one of my friends from high school was interning at a tech company a couple of summers ago, I visited her office and the snack pantry was essentially a mini Whole Foods. I'm talking about a wide variety of LaCroix, kombucha, matcha, and cold brew. Any frivolous drink you could ever need, they had. And that alone convinced me that it was probably an amazing place to work. Similar to my short visit, Tech Talk content offers a small glimpse into a vast industry. It doesn't tell the full story, but makes sure the best parts of it are highlighted. So in today's video, I want to explore how working in tech became so desirable and how it's evolved as a TikTok trend. But before we dive into that, I'd like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this part of the video. BetterHelp is a professional online counseling service that securely assesses your needs and matches you with your own licensed professional therapist who you can start talking to within 24 hours of signing up. It's not a crisis line nor self-help, but there is a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network, which may not be available to you locally. BetterHelp is available worldwide. Anyone can use it, and you can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. I know that if therapy wasn't available to me online, I probably never would have tried it, and I'm so glad that I did. It saved me many an existential crisis. I also love that people I know in real life are literally like, I use your BetterHelp code. You get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, and they make it free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today, so visit betterhelp.com/Amanda Mariana to join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Say it with me, that's betterhelp to get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Amanda Mariana. To begin this exploration of the rise of tech talk and its romanticization, we should start with the aspects that people find so appealing about it: the pay and the perks. From my limited understanding of compensation packages, people who work in tech, especially in technical roles, are paid so well because they're highly skilled at something that is, one, in demand, and two, rare. So, according to the man-made laws of economics and capitalism, it's simple as if you have rare in-demand skills, you get to sell your labor for more money. It doesn't mean these people or jobs have inherently more value than other ones, but in this system, they are highly valued and therefore highly rewarded. As for perks, that story can be traced back to Google, which gained the unheard of for a corporation reputation as an adult playground. Look how far American labor has come, from Victoria-era child workers to the workplace as the modern adult playground. Silicon Valley tech companies have been known for their in-kind perks since the 1990s, but as Susanna Vogel of The Morning Brew writes, in the early 2010s, perk wars became widespread across Silicon Valley as tech companies rapidly expanded their total rewards packages to recruit the best and brightest. Some companies offered unique perks. Genentech helped employees find a babysitter in a pinch, Evernote offered house cleaning services, Facebook boasted an on-site barbershop, and Google opened an office dog park dubbed the Doogleplex. Perks in Silicon Valley have become a cottage arms race, even though there's no actual proof that free helicopter rides or unlimited vacation days make employees more efficient. It's generally believed that happier and healthier people make for more productive workers, but for companies, it isn't just about productivity. Kind of about it, but it's increasingly important to build a unique corporate identity to attract the best talent. While these perks have been covered extensively in business-oriented publications, employees who show their lives on TikTok provide a closer peek into the seemingly cushy world of working in tech, showing off their days filled with free food, events, and swag. As it's portrayed in some tech talk vlogs, work at tech companies doesn't even seem to be work, just a series of aesthetically pleasing conference rooms, smiling faces, and free sushi. The employees documenting their lives seem to love their jobs, and if you love what you do and get free food while doing it, it doesn't feel like work, right? Many companies in the tech industry have managed to rebrand the employer-to-worker relationship from a mere exchange of labor for money to a cuddly exchange of labor for money. Instead of a collared shirt, you can wear a hoodie to work. Instead of a maze of stuffy cubicles, there's open floor plans and beanbag chairs. And instead of showing up and clocking out, you can work from anywhere as long as you have access to Slack. This kind of culture, spearheaded by Silicon Valley startups turned multi-billion corporations, has managed to blur the line between work and leisure, and it makes for great content. The typical work and tech vlog consists of a 20-something filming a morning routine in their aesthetically pleasing apartment, and as of late, commuting to an office that looks more like the Museum of Ice Cream than a place of work. Of course, most people can't show what they're actually working on due to corporate privacy policies, so the video ends up being a supercut of work friends, free food, and coffee. The point is, working in tech looks like a dream compared to other sectors, and it's much easier to make it look fun. Unsurprisingly, people are curious about how you can actually start working in the industry, and there's been a large, almost like suspiciously large, influx of how to break into tech content on TikTok. I've seen some people critique and deem this kind of content as propaganda. However, I don't think that is a fully accurate term for it. I think the tech talk content is more of a trend/niche that people see an opportunity to gain followers from, and less a concerted effort by tech companies or their employees to advertise how great it is to work for them. I do think propaganda comes to mind when you see a bunch of this content because some of it does sound too good to be true.
Hey guys, I just got into tech. I'm now in tech. I have no experience. I can't even write. I can't even read, but I got my first job into tech. I'm now in tech.
But I think the main reason why it has this propaganda vibe to it is because it's kind of a byproduct of the major in STEM propaganda. Believe it or not, the major in STEM messaging did not start with your immigrant parents sending you to Kumon the second you could count to 10. It really kicked off with the space race. Now for a brief history lesson. In 1957, Russia became the first country to launch an artificial satellite, Sputnik, into Earth's orbit.
The day Soviet scientists jauntily drop-kicked the first Sputnik around the world.
After Sputnik, the US government was shaking in their boots and promptly decided they needed to do something about it. So a year later, in 1958, Congress passed the National Defense Education Act, or NDEA, which allocated $1 billion to improve education in science, math, and foreign language. Before this point, the United States found many of their mathematicians in European refugees, and they realized that they needed to increase the domestic supply of mathematicians and scientists to teach the next generation of rocket scientists.
Sputnik is a product of higher education, of instructors who teach much of the physics and mathematics in high school that we teach in college. How important? Our survival may depend on degrees and graduates we are not now equipped to produce.
So this is where the STEM major fervor stemmed from, I guess you could say. Since then, I feel like major in STEM messaging and the STEM versus humanities debate has kind of just been a constant in the American education system, especially with the rise of the internet and personal computers in the 1980s and 90s. Although the push for studying STEM hasn't stopped, I do feel like the reasoning behind it, at least in mainstream narratives, has shifted. In the late 1950s, it was about national defense and making sure that our educational system was up to par with that of our space race competitor. Now, I feel like the push is more from a personal investment angle. Of course, we still invest an obscene amount of resources into national defense, but the major in STEM messaging now is less serve your country and more serve your bank account because it's a high-paying field and you can retire by the time you're 30. This brings me to a small tangent that I didn't really know where else to put in this video, the uncanny parallel rise between the popularity of working in tech content and the anti-work movement. So what is the anti-work movement? Basically, it refers to the critique of and wish to abolish work as such, and not only to critique of the worst forms of what the critics of works often deem wage slavery. Critique of work can be existential and focus on how labor can be or feel meaningless and stands in the way of self-realization, but the critique of work can also highlight how excessive work may harm the productivity of society or society itself. On that more existential side of critique of work, there's talks of I don't dream of labor, or just trying to save up very young so that you can retire early and spend your life doing whatever you want. I'm sure you've seen the I don't dream of labor videos floating around on YouTube in your recommendations. At some point in the past year, I made a video about not having a dream job and watched several others as well. A common theme was that a lot of people making these videos, including myself, were apparently middle class and working salaried corporate jobs in typically high-paying fields such as tech. So what does this have to do with work in tech content? The interesting thing about tech talk content is that it doesn't necessarily promote hustle and grind culture, even though it centers around work. In fact, I think the most appealing thing about it is seeing how much people are rewarded for seemingly not doing much work. This is not to say that people in tech don't work a lot or that it's easy, but the reality is, compared to other industries, the rewards seem much greater for a similar amount of work. It's funny that I even have to emphasize this because I feel like in our Protestant work ethic culture, it's considered offensive to say someone doesn't work hard or that their job looks easy. I mean, having an easy job is not objectively a bad thing. Like, why should anyone have to break their back or burn out in the name of hard work? I think we're finally breaking away from the idea that your passion or purpose in life equals a career, and younger people are trying to figure out a work-life balance where work is on the periphery. I've seen a handful of creators who work in tech and make tech talk content, but are vocal about the fact that they work to live, they don't live to work. They're not trying to climb the ranks of the corporate ladder, and consciously make an effort to work smarter, not harder. Work is simply a means to an end, and that end is living a comfortable lifestyle. This is, of course, a less radical approach to anti-work, but the sentiment that your life should not revolve around work and there are better ways to spend your time and energy is there. This just might be my For You page, but I've noticed that a lot of creators who fall into this category of making work and tech content but are not necessarily living to work tend to be women of color, and specifically Black women. I think this is because Black women are tired of the whole you have to work twice as hard as a white person thing, which is still true in most scenarios, but at least tech is well paying enough that you don't need to work insane hours or put 150% effort into your job to live a comfortable lifestyle. This kind of overlaps with the Black women in luxury niche too, because whenever I see one of those Black women luxury blogs on TikTok, a very common question, usually from other Black women, is what do you do for a living? And a common answer is I work in tech. So it's no wonder that people want to work in this industry, which brings me to break into tech talk. Break into tech is an increasingly popular niche in the tech talk sphere, and not so coincidentally, it's gotten a lot more traction because of the Great Resignation. Several burnt out workers in fields like education, retail, and nursing were and are searching for greener employment pastures, and the tech industry, according to Break Into Tech TikToks, seems to have what they're looking for: competitive pay, better work-life balance, and less emotionally intensive labor. Break Into Tech content usually consists of someone who works in the tech industry.
I'm a software engineer at Google, and I wanted to share this awesome resource with you guys today.
In any capacity, not just a technical role.
Here's how I broke into tech in a non-technical role for hot girls.
Explaining how they got their job and general tips on how to break into the industry. A huge theme that I've noticed with Break Into Tech content is that there's a major focus on what you don't need.
Here are 6 ways to break into the tech industry with no experience and an unrelated degree.
You don't need a degree, you don't need to know how to code, and you don't need experience working in tech are some of the most common refrains. And while this is true to an extent and helpful for people who are unfamiliar or intimidated by the field, it can be misleading. No one person's hiring experience can be exactly replicated or distilled into a tips and tricks TikTok. And while some people are well-meaning, others are simply trying to profit off the fantasy of making 6 figures without breaking a sweat. Some people sell courses on breaking into tech or resume reviews for as much as $200. Another problem many people have noticed about Tech Talk is that the most viewed content is usually from employees at the most well-known companies, and they really can't and won't accurately portray the nuances of a whole industry. But employees of these few companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple seem to be the face of Tech Talk when in reality it's just the tip of the iceberg. In addition, the work itself, the day-to-day, and the hard parts of working in tech aren't shown enough either. I think a lot of creators who make this break into tech content are aware of this issue, but they've realized videos talking about the downsides of tech don't get nearly as many views as videos talking about how you can make 6 figures with no coding experience. Many of these creators seem to really like their jobs and just want to help other people, which is great, but showing only the positive aspects of it doesn't really help anyone. In an article for Business Insider, Victoria Hun put it like this: I am very supportive of individuals that want to make tech more accessible, but I am also very wary of influencer culture and what they are selling. As employees, the more we uncritically romanticize our work, the more difficult it actually is to demand better for ourselves. You know that saying, LA is shitty heaven and New York is fun hell? Tech Talk seems to portray working in tech as fun heaven and working in literally any other industry as shitty hell. Working in tech content has become over-romanticized because while there are clear downsides, tech employees are aware of how good they have it. The dark sides of working in tech seem minor compared to many other industries. While over-romanticizing working in tech isn't good, it's kind of hard not to when employees in tech are paid so much more than workers in other fields like education and healthcare. However, I think it points to the much deeper issue of a system that values profitability over utility. When we think of tech in this day and age, we think of innovation, but I think it's important to ask who and what we are innovating for, instead of blindly progressing with no destination except greater returns for shareholders every quarter. I'm not gonna lie, I will probably still continue to watch working in tech content because, if nothing else, it's entertaining. I love seeing what free food the tech girlies are getting in the office every day. The moral of the story is you can find content entertaining and engage with it while viewing it through a critical lens, which is what I've tried to do with this video and a few other ones on my channel. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!